early stage, the life story of Suchan. And she has been an inspiration to, I can't even count, of many people that she's helped. Oh, see, we got a hand raised over there. Okay, anybody else? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, like I say, she really inspires me. Man, there's no words that I can say what she has done. And I know she's going to continue to do that as she continues to live with the disease. She has frontal temporal aphasia and Alzheimer's. And I don't want to tell too much of her story because I want her to tell it. And what we'll do is she'll talk about her life story, and then we'll go into questions and answers. So as she is speaking, she may answer some of the questions that you may have. And if she doesn't, feel free to write it down somewhere. If you don't have notes, I'm quite sure we got some paper back there that you can write on the back of that we don't mind sharing. Okay? So that way you can get your questions answered. Okay? All right? And where the restrooms at?
They're just right out here.
Right outside the door to the...
Not that door, to the left.
Okay?
That door to the right.
Okay, out the door to the left and right. I don't think you can get lost.
Just right outside the door.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, if you have cell phones, if you don't mind putting it on vibrate or silence. Okay? Because we understand some people do need to step out. All right. Anything else? All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, one other thing is Susan will tell her story, and then after that we'll do question and answer, and then I'm going to talk about the 10 warning signs. Okay? So that will be very important because it may not be you, it may be someone you know that you can help. Okay?
Hi. My name is Roger. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you all so much for coming here today. This is a beautiful place for us all to gather. I've been asked to tell my story. Some of you have heard it. I've been fortunate to meet many and make beautiful friendships through this journey. So some of you will be familiar. For those of you who are not, and I've not had the opportunity to meet you, I am currently 57 years old, and don't sue me if I get the dates wrong. My memory's not very good. But approximately 9 years ago, I was busy with life and working, and put something on my stove to cook, and left the area and came back to find a small fire in my kitchen. This was alarming for many reasons. I did not remember that I had put food on the stove, and I did not smell that the house was fire. This disturbed me, and I went to my physician, my general practitioner, to find out what's going on with my ability to smell. I wasn't so concerned that I forgot it. We all get busy and forget things. But that I didn't smell a fire, that could be dangerous. So we went to a ear, nose, and throat specialist, and a CAT scan was performed in the hopes of finding a synovial tumor, which is a very common tumor that can be removed and the sense of smell can be regained. But there was no tumor. So I was then sent to a neurologist for further testing, which led to a diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's. He shook my hand, apologized for having to give me such a drastic diagnosis, and instructed me to just live my life. At that point, there was nothing they could do. And that's exactly what I did. I really spoke to no one of it. Sticky notes worked very well. Reminders on my phone. I compensated without really even realizing how much compensation I was doing. And it worked. So I continued to be employed, maintaining a home, interacting socially. And once again, the date will elude me. But at some point, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I was beginning to fall over. There was no connection between what my brain would automatically do and what my legs were doing. So I could stand up and I would fall over. So once again, back to the doctor. That's not normal. I made no connection neurologically in my mind. I truly had put an Alzheimer's diagnosis behind me. Some would call that denial. I was functioning fairly well. So with this revisit to the doctor, there were tremors that were present. There were more outward signs. And after very extensive testing to rule out everything from Lyme's disease to syphilis. Serious. I carried a jug of urine for a week. I went through the gamut of testing and was then sent back to a neurologist again. And where I then met with a neuropsychologist. Very, very interesting. After a battery of very strenuous mental testing, I was given the diagnosis of FTD, or frontotemporal dementia, which affects primarily my executive functioning skills. I could get in a shower, but I wouldn't know what the next thing is to do. I would not maybe know if I did or did not brush my teeth that day. Did I eat? So sticky notes were no longer effective. My behavior was extremely aberrant for me. I have always been a very well-behaved, well-mannered, high-functioning social human being. And that all changed. And my family were concerned. I thought maybe this was midlife crisis or something. Men get to do it, why can't women, right? So I really didn't think too much about it. I spent 23 years in the medical field and had never heard of frontotemporal dementia. So this was new to me. And when I was sent home with the diagnosis, he said to get your affairs in order. The life expectancy is 2 to 7 years. I think I probably spend the first year getting things in order. I follow direction pretty good. So I did as told. And once that was done, I realized, what now? What now? I cannot work functionally in the job I am familiar with. I have alienated myself from many people because of the aberrant behavior. What am I to do with this life? I had a vision that Alzheimer's and dementia meant that I would waste away in a chair, wearing a Depends and drooling. That was all I knew. And it scared the bejesus out of me. And I'm just ornery enough that I did a lot of research and have been very fortunate to come in contact with others living with a diagnosis that were doing things with their life. They found new purpose. And that's what I have been doing. You can only sit down and cry about it so long, and then you've got to do something. With the help of my family, my neighbors, they help me remember who I am, what I have always aspired to be, and they encourage that in me when I seem to forget. They are my blessing. So I do a lot of advocacy work online because the world closes in. Friends will walk away. They are perplexed or fearful. So online work for me has been magnificent. I speak with people from around the world through Skyping and Zoom, and we learn and help one another. I interact with lovely people such as yourself in the hopes of breaking that stigma that a diagnosis does not designate you to a chair drooling until death. There is life after diagnosis, be it whatever you choose it to be. And my experience is that, look at this room full of you magnificent people, all like-minded, whether you have a diagnosis or you care for someone who does. You care, and that matters. So I stay real busy with that, and I appreciate that dementia has given me the gift of clarity. I know what's the most important things in life. I see the value in people and the little things. It is not just a derogative sentence. It is, there are joyful moments. Life does go on. Is it different? Yes. It is very, very different. But it is life nonetheless. I would like to, before we answer questions, I am on many different things, support groups. One in particular is an international support group that is run by and for those with a diagnosis. Nothing done without us is our motto. And I was asked in conversation one day, I commented, dementia is very selfish. And she asked me to please write about my definition Now, I must tell you before I read this, I had no memory that I wrote this. And so when I read it, it was like reading someone else's writing, another little gift. But I hope in listening to it, it brings some clarity to what I'm trying to convey to you today. And it may resonate with some of you here. So the title of this was Dementia is Selfish. I am told by my children and my family how giving and generous a woman and mother I have always been. I am flattered and mystified. I now search my heart and soul for what that looked like. I have been unemployed outside of the home for, I believe, 3 years now. My children have children of their own, and my world as I once knew it is much different than I had ever imagined it would be. I have never been one to sit still for too long. So after finally coming to terms with the inability to properly keep my business running, I have moved in with my sister and brother-in-law. I have been busy reinventing my life, and as I do this, I find that my new friends are those living with a dementia diagnosis, just like me. I am satisfied and inspired by the abilities I see coming from my new friends. I want to be strong and brave, forward-thinking, and as inspiring as they are. I busy myself with new projects for a world that can be more effective for those of us living with a chronic disability. All of this is true, and it is what keeps me moving forward. The hopes that our combined brilliant minds, we will set the stage for change. And then I have trouble remembering to show up for a chat group, remembering names of what are familiar faces, and I am reminded that dementia likes to take its fair share of my time too. Far too much time, in my opinion. I, with my lovely grandchildren's visits, are kept short, so Grandma doesn't get overwhelmed and confused, possibly even a little bit cranky. Dementia dictates how long my visits are. Organizing a family dinner, preparing a meal. Dementia has selfishly borrowed my skills as well as my sense of smell and taste. I don't remember birthdays, holidays, or even how old I am. Dementia is keeping that last bit of information safely tucked away from me. My home has always been open to friends and family, filled with music, impromptu meals, and sleepovers by the grandkids. I would give you the shirt off of my back if that's what you needed. These ideas have been robbed by dementia. Some days I feel more apt, more aware of life I aspire to, and I thank dementia. Thank you, dementia, for thinking of me less. But because it is a selfish prankster, it reappears and takes the spark of ideas I felt so confident of and steps right up front and leaves me feeling unbalanced and unsure again. Dementia is selfish. It has taken my relationships and stolen my lust, leaving some people to suggest I am cold, hard, non-caring, and distant. Dementia is not just an inconsiderate friend who borrows something and forgets to return it. Dementia takes my time, my abilities, and on some days, my sense of self. My family is loving and supporting, and for this I am grateful. Without them, I may turn sour and entrenched in only the losses. My new friends are pushing forward, initiating and compensating, just like the thousands of other people living with dementia. I am learning this game dementia plays and the rules it would like to make for my life. I have become selfish as well. Dementia will take, but not without its having to recognize my keen ability to compensate and reinvent myself. If my old friends could take the time, they would meet a new, improvised, and pretty darn good functioning woman who now hopes to use my experiences living with dementia for the betterment of those to come. Yes, dementia is selfish. Knowing that, arm yourself for its manipulative ways. Learn from those that have come before you and use this newly created mind to continue to fight for better understanding and living with the selfishness of dementia. Thank you so much.